Danny, hello and welcome to the Manufacturershub podcast. Danny Grigg from Orion. Is it Orion MIS?
So it's Orion MIS. The reason that came about is because if you typed in Orion, there's about 30,000 Orions, so I had to put something in for the website domain. So yeah, it's Orion technically, but it's Orion MIS for the website's purposes.
Right. So what does the MIS actually mean? Anything?
It used to be manufactured, installed, and supported, so it kind of covered off the areas that we cover.
Danny, it's great to have you on finally at last. I know we spoke about doing video content and stuff before, and since obviously we spoke, I've seen loads of videos from yourself on LinkedIn as well. So how are you finding these videos?
I find them good, man. To be fair as well, like just massive kudos to you guys. I think what you're doing with the Manufacturers Hub, you and Kev here, is amazing. I think it's great for what you're doing for UK manufacturing, and also I think that the way that you guys are doing the content is fantastic, and it's a great opportunity to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
No worries, thank you very much. For anyone that's not heard of Orion, what do you do? You're in automation, but what kind of automation? What sector?
So we work across a range of sectors. So warehousing, manufacturing, automotive, life sciences, food and beverage, all kinds of things. So essentially, if you make and distribute or manufacture something, we take metal and wires and things like that, and we make them into wonderful machines to make your life easier. And that could be anything from robotics, moving robots, moving pallets, moving tyres, moving ice lollies, anything you like and anything you can think of.
So I see a conveyor behind you as well. So is it mainly conveyors?
So yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, the conveyors essentially is a large portion of what we do. Whereabouts we differ a little bit is we manufacture everything in house, and then we also do a lot in robotics. And our flagship product at the moment is called Helix. So we've just designed, all made in the UK, a new sorter. And that sorter is essentially being sold as a module. So the nice thing about that is it can go to end user, or it can go to an integrator, and it can be bought off the shelf. It's all programmable, GSD files and all those kind of good things. 83% of the parts are all manufactured here in my plant, and the rest will be bought in for kind of off-the-shelf electronics such as Siemens, Wittenstein, all those kind of well-known products. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, from our side, we get involved in the weird and wonderful. But if people want to buy lovely straight runs of conveyors, we enjoy them a lot as well. I know we were talking earlier. A lot of the work that we do is kind of bespoke, and that could be anything from lifts, cranes, multi-shuttles, and also the software aspect and the panel building aspect as well. So we have our own in-house software team. We developed our own WCS. We have our own WMS. We can pretty much anything that you want to move, make, manufacture, we can provide and manufacture here. So it's fun. It's really fun.
So with the conveyors as well, I can see obviously on the banner behind you, you do robots as well. Is it like pick and place systems, or what robot systems do you do?
All kinds of things. So one of the latest projects I've just worked on was with the National Composite Centre, and we designed a robot that was laying, inspecting and cutting carbon fibre for aeroplane wings, and that was cutting with force torque sensors and using ultrasound, which is quite a new way to cut. So as opposed to using a blade that needs to be replaced, we do that. And I've just handed one over today, hence why I'm in the office at this time. And that was a nice little palletising station. But we also do inspection and engine inspection, kind of take on a bit of everything. I think the ones that are really flying off the shelf at the moment is the kind of the Cobots that can be worked for palletising, because they're relatively easy to get signed off from a health and safety point of view. They're nice and easy to reprogram, so should anything change, and they run off a 240 plug, so it's kind of lift it up and drop it into place.
Certain brands of Cobots, is it, or is it the main?
I'm really enjoying working with Universal Robots at the moment. I think they're quite well known, and I think the UI on them is incredibly intuitive. And I think that from my side, building the peripherals around that has worked out to be quite beneficial to both the customer and us. And I think sometimes it's not worth taking the eggs out of the cake and making your own UI for those kind of tasks. If it's something a bit more bespoke, then obviously we'll write a custom software package for that.
Yeah, because I've seen there's more and more in the industry coming up now with these Cobots. I mean, there's some, like Kuka do them, and Argus do them as well. There's so many now. Casal, there's so many things coming through.
I mean, Bosch brought out Casal. I went down to go and have a chat with Bosch about the Casal robot, and I think they're flying off the shelf as well. I think the nice thing about the Cobots is they're priced at a nice price point. And as I said, they're incredibly reconfigurable. Now, unpopular opinion here, I think I'm one of these people who I see a lot of people kind of selling and dispatching the AMRs, and I think they're kind of sold as the golden bullet to sort everything out. And I think sometimes the Cobots and the other bits have been a little bit left behind. They have a place and a purpose, but I'm not sure they have a purpose for absolutely everything within our industry, which is kind of the way it went when the Chinese ones, shall we say, flooded the market.
There's quite a lot of flooding the market at the moment, and yeah, I am seeing quite a lot of these AMRs in place at the moment, especially like some of these forklift ones as well, aren't there? I've seen loads.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think they're good, and they don't need a break, and they don't need things like this, and I think they're very, very good, and I think they've got a great purpose. It's just using them in the right application, and I've seen them using quite a few maybe not so correct applications, but I'm sure time will tell, and it's each to their own, I suppose.
See some of these people changing back to the robot or the Cobot then.
The thing is, actually, price-wise, it's not even that as well. But the AMRs, they replace robots, and they're good for areas where you actually need to walk through and things like this. But in my opinion, I think the problem with AMRs is that once you kind of really, really implement them, and I'm not laying into AMRs, this isn't from that side, but what you tend to find is that it's harder to write a process to be able to do it. Whereas I think with more traditional technologies, there's a reason that they've been used for years, and there's a reason that people tend to go back to them. And it's that easy to manufacture. You're not tied into one manufacturer. You can choose your internals. You can choose what motor you want. You can reconfigure it. They're fast lead times. I think conveyors now. I had a job the other day, and we turned around a conveyor system for a client within 8 hours, and it was leaving the factory. Because we manufacture everything in house, it's not difficult to be able to go, okay, cool, what do you need? Stainless steel, food grade, out the door, bolted to the floor, wired up and going. So, there's pros and cons to both, I suppose.
Oh, 100%. So do you like stock a lot of items as well, so you can literally just throw things together straight away, or is it normally kind of like left in time?
So for us personally, we have our stock products. So kind of 650, 450 mil wide inside frame kind of pallet and carton conveyors and tote conveyors. Pallet conveyors, we carry a lot of that in stock. The good thing is for us, because we manufacture, as well, that's why I'm here, is that, to be honest with you, if I've got the design, I can throw it on the laser. We've got our pre-made designs. We cut those up. They get folded. They get QA'd, and they go out the door. Usually the only limiting factor is some of the powered rollers and whatnot, but we carry a lot of motors on the shelf. We have to carry spares holding, and you never want components to be the bottleneck.
No, definitely not. So there's one point, say during like pandemic or the chip shortage and stuff, sometimes you're just waiting months before you can get something in before a project can go out.
Like I bought up most of the multi-controllers, to be fair, the Interroll multi-controllers at the time. We were working quite heavily with Interroll, and we had a friendly stock of those, but it got crazy. I'm seeing those go at, kind of, I think like 10 times over retail at one point on eBay and stuff like this. And it was the same as the PLCs and things like that. I mean, the pandemic was a crazy time, right? It was great. Perspex was more expensive than gold.
It's just trying to get it in as well, isn't it? It's just trying to. Sometimes it was just whatever you could get. You're changing brands just to get the machines out the door.
Yeah, well, we were talking about the automotive industry, weren't we, earlier? And it's kind of one of those that when the pandemic came, some of those them higher standards may have been a little bit grey area to some degree. You need to get those pieces of equipment out the door, which is always amusing when it's a matter of if and when.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the world's certainly changed back to how it was pre-pandemic, but yeah, that was a crazy time. Everything I had entire systems waiting for the powered rollers and things like this ready to go out of the workshop. Yeah, it was a tough time. We, as well as I do, the manufacturers were kind of keeping this country going to a large degree.
So we're saying earlier on, I know, well, compliment really, but obviously you're quite a young director really. So, but how long has Orion been going for? So
Orion was started in December 2019, so coming up to 6 years now. And it started in a bedroom with two of us in a bedroom, and we saw a bit of a gap in the market. I think the truth is that there was a lot of integrators, but there wasn't a lot of integrators who were necessarily engineering and manufacturer based. And from our side, we saw a gap of People tended to, and I take nothing away from this, but it's one of those that what people tended to do is they tend to buy in a lot of bits and pieces, as we did when we first started, and then you kind of figured it out on site. Kind of sat there with my business partner and thought, there's got to be a better way to do this. So within there, we kind of stripped it back, pared it back, and we took the plunge and kind of bought this place. We've got a, I think it's 20,000 square foot manufacturing space here. With design suite and all those kind of things, and started to take those processes in-house. So we took a large amount of the mechanical manufacturing design. We always did the mechanical design in-house, and then we took all of our electrical design and E-plan and software into house as well. So within that, we kind of a little bit different in the fact of that we don't commission really on a customer site. What we tend to do is we have pre-configured modules that go out the door. It's more like redeployment. So we go to site, we fix it to the floor, we put the 3-phase to it. We've done all the pre-works before. We've got a really fundamentally well documented FDS, and everybody knows exactly what they're expecting to receive and kind of things like this. And taking the attitude that we test the hardest part first. So we've always gone with like a staged approach to automation. At the end of the day, like getting a box from A to B on a conveyor is bread and butter and shouldn't take very long, whereas maybe placing things into that box or rotating that box or applying a label or sorting that box or whatever it may be that happens within that process is usually the more complicated bit. So if we can break it down into the stage of us, we do the complicated bit first and everything else from there becomes a peripheral, and that's kind of our approach to it, and it's paying dividends now, so that's good.
I know there's quite a few inkjet businesses out there. Do you do yours yourself, or do you kind of this bit in?
So we have designed our own. I'll be very honest with you. It comes down to a fact of that actually to make your own label in inkjet is actually sometimes not as cost effective as buying it. A bit like our sorter modules that I was talking about earlier. At the end of the day, I think my sorter modules. I mean, I've just released a price sheet for my conveyors.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've kind of taken the attitude that within our industry, it's kind of like, can I have the price? And it's like negotiating with a 3-year-old kid at home about bedtime. And I kind of got a bit fed up with that. So the 3-year-old's gone. No, what we did is we decided that we're proud of our prices and why not share those? And it's the same with the sorter modules. For each module, it's £5,500. Well, there's the price of it, and that will do circa 30,000 parcels an hour. And you can adjust them and grow them as they go. We're about to start sharing our CAD blocks and our pricing structure out. And the nice thing about that is that integrators, we're happy to white label, put your colours. Your colour themes on it, your advice, what you would like to have, and from there make it your own. Or as an end user, if you've got somebody incredibly technical, they can come and have a chat with us, or if not, you can just take it off the shelf. But you can kind of have that price already in front of you, because a lot of the time it's a ROM cost. You're looking to see what you have to raise for CapEx, and kind of taking into that sales funnel and spending 2 months of me emailing and calling you was not a great use of my time, but also not a great use of everybody else's time either. So that's kind of why I took the
sometimes it's a case of like you're also competing against other people as well. But obviously, if your price is straight away there, you're basically giving. We don't even need to look anywhere else. They already got your price.
Yeah, then you've got my price, you've got my blocks, you can build your own, or you can sit down with our design team and do that. And obviously, there's no cost for doing that with our design team. They enjoy that. And what we did is we really focused on process and the customer experience. And I think that's something that's quite often overlooked. We as engineers, we love the technical aspect and the technical challenge and the pride, as we were talking about earlier. The pride of I'm an engineer and I did that. And a lot of the time, the simplest solution is the best, and the customer and the operators and the people who are actually working with that equipment know far better than we do. And that's why a lot of the time we'll even come down and work with your operators for a shift and kind of get an idea of what they like and they don't like. And I think too often we listen to maybe somebody who's sitting in an office who looks at figures and numbers as opposed to somebody who's actually packing that or putting it onto a conveyor or whatever else it may be. And I think I think that's changing. I'm working with a client at the moment, and really, really inspirational guy. Really, really inspirational. Can't wait to share the news in January. But we've got We've sold a lot of sorters. I'll leave it there. And his first thing when he first came into the company that he's working with is he spent 2 months working on the shop floor as the main director and really sat down and talked to the people on the shop floor. And that's why we made a process calculator as well, because there's so many savings in a process. You know, we did some benchmarking the other day, and it's a friend of mine. They own a company in which they take bottles that have been smashed up in transit, you know, like gin and rum and stuff like this. Rather than going to landfill, they cut them down and make them into bespoke glasses and things like this. And we went down and we're just about to put a nice little cobot in there that will cut those glasses for them, and it saves them about 3 people a year. And you know, that's just a nice, easy process, and for a very small price. I think the price for that's going to be about 30k. So, you know, for the price of 1 employee, you take kind of 4 people out of it and have it exactly the same every time. So that's whereabouts it's at.
I was going to say, this was add on to one of my questions for later on, actually, but I'll say it early. Obviously, you're just saying about a cobot coming in and obviously doing the same job as 3 people. What do you think about automation? Does it steal jobs? Is the thing in the industry at the moment when they're saying putting these machines in robots steals jobs? Yeah, what do you think?
So ultimately, as a business owner, you have to look at what's best for the business. As a business owner at the moment, you're in a hard place we know the financial climate that we're in at the moment in the UK. And from that side, we need to look at making people more efficient. Now, do I think it steals jobs? No, I don't think it steals jobs. But what I do think it does is it frees people up to do more interesting things or more complex things. And I think if you've got a repeated process that's done again and again and again, if we can find something to do that process, then we can have somebody on something more on the QA side. And what you really want is for human beings to be working more on that quality assurance, quality control, and the kind of planning of the factory as a whole, as opposed to putting something onto a conveyor.
How many people want to be going into work every day and cutting these bottles up?
Yeah, and also from that side as well. Oh, sorry, mate, I really do need to pay my bill. Because it's office, because we've always got people walking around in the office. I apologise.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's because I'm sitting in here. It's nothing I'll see here in a moment. From our side, a lot of the time we'll have to cut that out, or we just do it in the dark. I need to automate that. I just need one of those nodding birds. Do you remember like The Simpsons when you had the bird? It's like, why, yes.
Get the balls and just go both sides.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I do. I'll go and pull a sorter in here. But no, from my side as well, I think it takes away a lot of the manual handling aspects and the kind of, you think about it, if you're lifting up, I mean, we've just done one for a tape manufacturer, and their boxes weigh 35 kg. Now you think about as a person lifting, that's a 2-person lift within the health and safety standards, and you've got 2 people there lifting up a 35 kg box off a 700mm high conveyor and then putting it onto a pallet. That's going to end up with people with, you know, injuries of some description or certainly some type of repetitive strain, whatever that may be. And I think that's kind of the secret to this and the kind of approach to this going forward is we need to look at making people's lives a little bit more enjoyable. So I don't think it takes jobs, but I do think that it does reduce headcount, and that's the truth.
Yeah. I'll say it keeps you in work as well, doesn't it? So it keeps you've got 45 employees, you said earlier on. So it's not necessarily stealing jobs, but it's also keeping your 45 employees employed.
Yeah, definitely. It creates jobs. And also you think about the automation, you need the IT systems in place. You need technicians, you need engineers, you need to train people. And again, that's what we tend to do here as well. At the end of the day, we want to empower our customers to feel confident to be able to work on their equipment. So a lot of the time what we'll do is when we're building your particular system or whatever like this, we'll invite your engineering team down, we'll invite your operators down. They can come down, do the baseline training here in the factory. With the sorter, with this client I'm talking about, we've got their engineering team coming down to come and help build their sorter units so they can talk to the guy in the factory. And the equipment, I mean, to be fair as well, we're just about to launch all of our products with a 2-year warranty on them. So we've been the first ones in the industry to put a 24-month warranty on it. The idea is that we want this to be a nice experience. I think for too long it's been a bit of a battle between kind of the project delivery team and maybe the receiving team from the client side. And I don't think that's the way that this should be.
Well, sometimes as soon as it's out the door, that's it. You forget about it. That's it. Done. Job done. But actually, at least you're actually putting your name and your brand behind there, saying, actually, I'm confident it's going to last 2 years. But if not, I'm more than happy to have the warranty on it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the way it should be. You know, at the end of the day, I think you should be happy to. And what we're going to argue over? A motor? Have the motor. Have the motor, and let's do business again. That's my attitude with it.
Nice. So I know you said earlier on, obviously before the podcast, you worked for some big integrators before. So what inspired
Yeah.
you to start up on your own?
Oof, that's a tough one. So I worked as a contractor for many years. I think one of the things that really inspired me is I saw an environment like I was talking before, whereabouts there was a lot of finger pointing and a lot of arguments, not necessarily the culture of the company, but certainly from the customers and things like this. And I feel like I wanted to be in charge of my own future, really. And I felt, being really honest, I felt I could do it better. That's the truth. I felt I could do it better. You know, even in regards to software, we free issue our software. I like to think that you don't want to be tied into me. You want to come back and work to me. I don't want to be, every time you want to change, you have to spend 10 grand because we didn't sell the job right at the first time, or it's changing a timer on a sensor, but you've got to book in 6 months before and have approved software engineer and go through this whole change request. That for me seems combative, and it's not really the way that I enjoy to work. Don't get me wrong, I had a great time working with those other larger companies and met some amazing, inspirational people along the way, but just really fancy doing it for myself. And I love engineering. I love being an engineer. As I was saying before, it's my proudest achievement is being an engineer. And if I can have a nice big workshop with lots of toys to make cool stuff in, why not?
It's definitely inspiring for the younger generation getting in there.
Well, I'm not so young anymore. I appreciate you calling me young earlier, but certainly not so young anymore.
So obviously we kind of bridged on conveyors, and obviously you got your sorters as well. So what conveyor systems do you specialise in? Because there's many different types of conveyors. There's roller and there's belt and.
Yeah, all of them is the simple answer. All of them. At the end of the day, I think it depends on the application. So we mainly supply warehousing and production, automotive and things like this. So I'd say the main two selling kind of sides of our conveyor are, you have a mix of roller and belt conveyor. We have some food clients who are stainless steel with the drop through, plastic belts and covered belts and things like this, which is another design. And the pallet conveyor. And at the moment, I'm seeing a big resurgence in the pallet conveyor, and especially in transfers and turntables. I've seen some really, really awfully designed transfers and turntables from some very, very big company names. And so within that, we took it back to basics from there. Yeah, it's across all of it. I think the roller conveyor for me is one of the easiest to see. It depends on what you want. Actually, a transport belt conveyor over the course of X amount of meters, once you go above about 15 meters, actually works out considerably cheaper than running the roller conveyor. But the roller conveyor is really nice and quick to you can easily change zones, you can change sizes, you can change behaviors, and you can change timing. So it's application dependent, but I would say that the majority of what we sell is traditionally tote roller based conveyor with either an MDR or a drum motor or an SEW style motor on it.
I know you said a lot of your stuff as well is bespoke, but do you have any kind of products of your own?
Yes, yeah. So we obviously have our Helix sorter, which we've just launched. All of our conveyors are our own. They're off the shelf. Our tote conveyor, our pallet conveyor, our food grade conveyor. We have our WCS off the shelf. All of our panels are, built to a design standard. And we're working on some other exciting things at the moment. I think the next big one for us will be we're just about to trial 2D and 3D singulator. So D-stacker and singulator. That'll be going into this site this year. And the site this year that we're talking about, so by the end of 2026, we'll have a sortation site that can do 80 kg loads from 1600 millimeters down to 150 millimeters across 6 different types of sortation system, with a singulator and auto infeeds and everything in between. So high speed, low speed, double stacked, and every single iteration. And obviously, we'll take you for a tour. Take you down and do a nice video on it, a tour. We're going to put up lots of videos and marketing, and it's a really fun, exciting project to be part of. So I'm really, 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 really excited for this one. And we get to show off kind of everything within our arsenal there to do with parcels and totes. So it's looking forward to that.
Look, yeah, same. Be nice to see it coming out. So where can people see this? On your LinkedIn, or do you post this on YouTube? Or do you go to any shows?
LinkedIn's good. I'm trying with YouTube at the moment. I'm far from an influencer. I'm a 40-year-old man. So I'm kind of figuring this out for myself, much like yourself. I kind of decided to take marketing on myself. I think I'm probably going to outsource some of that going forwards. It's quite complicated, but there'll definitely be lots of YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, and to be fair, TikTok. I'm seeing quite a lot of stuff on there. Let's see some sales, but it's nice to get it in front of people.
I love that you can really kind of copy across, can't you, as well? You can copy across all the different social media platforms, so it's nice and easy that way. So, but
definitely, you say that, but you've just started doing this yourself. It's not the simplest. It's not the simplest when you first start,
no,
is it?
Definitely not. Do you do many shows or anything like exhibitions?
Yeah, so to be fair, the big one I'm looking forward next year is parcel and post. I think that our sorters, the Helix sorter, particularly works well into parcel and post, the parcel and postage industry. So I'm looking to do that. We've done IMHX a few times. I've done robotics and automation. We were one of the standout stands from there. This year I took a little bit of a hiatus from we had a lot of development, and I just couldn't really justify the time. I think you're going to see some fun things coming up in shows next year. As I said, I'm definitely on parcel and post. I was actually supposed to be going as a guest speaker out to SPS in Germany because I speak fluent German as well, funnily enough. I lived out there for a few years myself. I ended up having a deal to close, and at the end of the day, these deals come a lot less often than the shows do, don't they? So we went down that route.
So do you do any like a PPMA or Automate UK, any of the other UK ones?
I've been looking at them. We did PPMA. To be honest with you, I've been really, really bad this year for the shows. I am looking to exhibit at a few, and I need to jump on that. I think the best place to stay up to date with that is probably LinkedIn, and we'll start to share on there. What about yourself? Are you doing any?
So myself and Kevin, obviously, we at the moment, obviously, we're working around 2 jobs, so all of our kind of annual leave is trying to juggle against 2 jobs. We're at Smart Manufacturing Week. We're going to be at Interplast. We're going to be at TCT and the MedTech one as well. So there's definitely 4 there. Probably Advanced Engineering again, and I'll see what else we can squeeze in. But obviously, every day that we're out, obviously is obviously away from the family as well and away from our other jobs. So yeah, we'll see how many we can get on. Usually, whatever's got the most footfall.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Your systems, do you mainly put into UK businesses, or do you have many kind of Europe or international?
So, I mean, to be fair, lots of our clients are international. At the moment, we've predominantly focused on the UK. I think that COVID, I don't know if you remember that little cold that went around the world for a couple of years, but it froze quite a lot of clients from there. I am actively seeking partners into America and Europe and things like this, and I think there's some great partnerships to be had there. Obviously, if anybody's watching this and they want to have a chat, we can go from there. But yeah, I think the UK at the moment is whereabouts I'm spending predominantly my time. But I think the Helix has a fantastic opportunity to kind of go worldwide from there and move on from there, and then the peripherals from that side. But yeah, we work with a lot of international clients, and we've got some exciting things coming up. I think sometimes it can be the logistics. Let's be honest, the Asian market, they kind of service themselves a lot of the time unless you've got something particularly stand out, and they're great innovators. Let's not pretend that they're not fantastic at innovation. And I feel like with America sometimes, especially with the tariffs and the trading and things like this, I think we're more bespoke and specialist pieces of equipment, or maybe even more software and those kind of things, as opposed to complete systems. Again, I'm not averse to ranking America. I just think that if you're building things here, I think from my side, I see more that I'd rather release the files and kind of find local people to build it there and set up a plant there if we were going to go to kind of larger jobs, rather than sending out conveyors from the UK that would have tax and tariffs twice.
Yeah, I think they're the same over there anyway. With the US, is that obviously over here in the UK, we're trying to promote stay in the UK, so especially with manufacturers as well. We're trying to say, right, keep everything onshore really, but obviously with Trump and the tariffs over there, they're probably seeking US only really businesses to do it, aren't they?
Definitely. I mean, to be fair, you say that. Like, I lived out in Germany for the best part of 8 years, and one thing I really loved about Germany, and I think something that needs to come back to the UK, is in Germany, Germans take great pride in the made in German credentials of things. From that side, the Germans, I knew they would buy a second-hand Bosch washing machine rather than buy a brand new, from another part of the country. And I think that unfortunately in the UK we've lost that pride of that made in the UK pride. It's kind of that side of we should be proud of what we're manufacturing here. We should be proud of what we can create here. We should be proud of the engineering prowess, and we should be proud, and we should shout about it more. And I think the Made in the UK brand should have a better association with it. You know, you look back over the years of engineering in the UK, and we've come up with 90% of the innovations that have gone across the world. And for some reason, in the last few years, we've lost that sense of pride around that, and that sense of belonging. And I think, you know, we have an excellent opportunity at the moment to really showcase this best of British, you know, this Made in UK label and this innovation.
I think it's a lot of businesses as well. It's all kind of a face kind of thing. So it's sometimes they might post that actually everything's made in the UK, but secretly they're actually importing stuff.
Definitely, mate. To be honest with you, as I said, without going into it too much, I think this is one of the reasons that we went into manufacturing a lot of the time when we were lifting up the hood on some suppliers and things like this. It was made in UK in name, but nowhere else, and that's not great. You know, I think the big thing to, I think, as a manufacturer, as engineering, in fact, in anything, any aspect of business, is you are never judged by when it's going right. You're judged by when it goes wrong. Okay, and when it goes wrong, it's about your ability and the speed and the process in which you deal with that. And that's where I actually find out if something was made in the UK or not. If you phone me up, I implore someone, when you watch this, phone me up on Orion's number and ask me for a part, and I can guarantee I can get that laser cut in here or machined in here quicker than you can get it ordered from Europe. And that's the truth of it. You know, 83% of the components that go into all of our systems are manufactured in this factory. Yeah, and that's why we back everything with a 24-month guarantee. And that's the truth of it. I learned to make my own PCBs this year. I learned to make my own, you know, well, really, you know, when I say 83%, I mean it. You know, literally down to learning how to make PCBs, blowing them up, everything along that line. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to be in charge of my own destiny, and I want my customers to know that. You know, I implore customers to come down here and get hands-on with the product. Come and have a look. We'll strip it down together. I'll show you. You can meet the guy who makes the cams. You can meet the guy who rolls, you know, the conveyors and rollers and things like this as well. So I think that's really important to me and to customers. You know, as I said, at 3 o'clock in the morning when your system isn't running on Black Friday, suddenly you don't want to have a 12-week lead time or something, do you?
I think it's really good the way you're doing everything. I've spoken to businesses before where they've got businesses here and they've got businesses in Asia, and it's a case of, their customers have been, can I come and watch you machining it? Can I come and see it in the factory? Maybe not, because actually they've subbed it out to their other businesses actually elsewhere in the world.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And the small amount that we would sub out, would be laser cutting and some patterns if we you know, we run low on capability. But essentially we own the design. We've got, to be honest with you as well, you know, we've got some great British suppliers around here. And I, you know, for me personally, I want to grow. You know, at the end of the day, this is the whole reason I'm on this. It's the whole reason that we do the LinkedIn and the marketing and everything else. So from my side as well, you know, I've had some great results from you guys at the Manufacturing Hub. You know, at the end of the day, I think I'm talking to one of the companies at the moment about some new plastic guardings and some of the bespoke parts. But they need to be within the UK. They need to be within a lead time, and they need to be, you know, kind of made to our design. And I want those off the shelf on call off or bonded stock. So, you know, that's the kind of attitude I take. That's
what it's all about, really, is keeping this kind of community as well. It's a case of trying to find these businesses easier. So, see, the whole reason we created the hub in the first place is because of the struggle to find these businesses, and obviously that's where you've now obviously found kind of these new businesses to connect with and
definitely. Definitely. Look, as I say, I commend you guys on what you've done. I think it's a fantastic idea. The only thing I don't like is I didn't come up with it first. I think it's a really, really, really brilliant project and a mission statement that you've got going ahead. And I think you should both be incredibly proud of yourself. I mean, look what you're up to, 9,000 followers on LinkedIn now.
It should be 10 by the end of the year.
All right, it's 10 now, isn't it? Will it be 11 by the time this comes out? But I mean, that's fantastic, and that goes to show, you know, that you're doing something that people want and something that people need and something that people are looking for. And I think that, you know, honestly, what you have done is absolutely fantastic. And I think, you know, I speak on behalf of certainly us and probably everybody else from Manufacturers Hub when I say thank you. You know, it's a fantastic resource and a fantastic community.
Really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Obviously, with your customers, then is there kind of any trends you're seeing more of these days, rather than obviously 6 years ago? Is there something that your customers are looking more at buying now and specking?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the big changes that I saw, to be honest with you, is once I brought the software in house, I realised that a lot of people are stuck in these kind of antiquated WCS systems and WMS systems, and I think there's a big movement now to be able to take a lot of that in house and be able to have freedom and looking at various different ways to do things. I've had a customer who I've been supporting their site for, God, since day one, really. So 5 years, 6 years, and they bought a system off another integrator. At the moment, they're in talks with us actually on Friday to go through about now how to better run their system and kind of do a complete software rewrite and better serve their WCS and WMS. I think at the moment there's a real pattern as well. I think we've reached a point where we've become somewhat of a household name. I like to think within the industry. I certainly think that people know of us. Maybe it's just that bald bloke with a beard who shouts at you on TikTok to be better at running your warehouse. So within that, we're starting to see these chunkier, more interesting projects with larger amounts of infrastructure, and a lot of that's down to us as well. Kind of going into that manufacturing side and going out and doing that. One of the big things that we're seeing is obviously the sortation. That might be confirmation bias from making my sorter. And one of the other side of things that we're seeing, though, is a big one, is people looking to make their operators' lives nicer. There's a real push for that sustainability, and that sustainability can be in the fact of that when you retire, you want to be able to walk up the stairs and play with your children, right down to, you want to keep staff. You've got good staff, and how do you make that more comfortable for them? How do you make it more ergonomic? How do you make it a nicer place to work with less input and a simple process to follow? And let's be honest, your Amazons and your big e-commerce companies have certainly brought that to the forefront and kind of pushed that a lot. And again, that's a great thing to happen to the UK. Used to go into warehouses a few years ago and they wouldn't have standards, or they wouldn't necessarily have a process, and it would be in that bloke's head. And I think that it's quite funny that I spent 3 years telling people about how to look at their process, and then it took me about 3 years to actually look at mine. We were wasting time and things like this, and it was quite scary. And I think there's a big shift, especially recently, in people looking for more operational efficiencies, but also to cut back shifts. Who wants to be on nights for forever? At the end of the day, if you can take a night shift off or a late shift and kind of get people working within sociable hours so they can go see their kids and their families and go to the pub and all the other good stuff that we like to do, there's a big shift in that as well. What about you? What have you seen?
Obviously, for the automation side, is there's so much more robots obviously now anyway. So from me building machines myself, is I'm seeing a lot more robots from I started in this place 11 years ago, and from just normal automated machines to now near enough every single machine's got a robot on it, which is good. That's what I've seen from my in automation kind of sector. I think that's the way we should
I
go.
agree. I agree. Well, it's like to be honest with you, let's be honest. The three main trends that I see going forward are modular systems, and this is why I was talking about staging. A modular, expandable system, and I think that the easiest way to describe it and describe everything that we try and design is it's like an iPhone. I want you to, when you get a piece of equipment, it come out of the box and you'll be able to intuitively use it. And then if you want to add a case to it, you can. If you want to add a set of headphones to it, you can. And it doesn't necessarily have to be within that ecosystem. And I think those modular, expandable systems are going to be massive. And I think that kind of roll in, roll out, step up, step down is going to be huge. And I've said for years and years and years that, to be honest with you, I think the software, we're going to see some big changes in software. I think software is already changing. You look at what Wix did for the internet market. You went from having to be able to, code in HTML or use Adobe Dream Capture or something along those lines to now you can drag and place. And I believe that software has become so much more like that. You look at Seamless TIA and things like this now, it's become so much easier to navigate and do. And I think the other big shift recently has been the cost of vision systems. Vision systems have come down phenomenally. A vision system used to be 100k, and I'm picking them up. I'm implementing them for like 4k, 3k, and at the moment I'm working on a new one I'm not really supposed to talk about this, but we're working with a customer at the moment who are looking at essentially their camera's a bit like a 360, an Insta360 camera. So it can stitch for a 360 view round the conveyor. So you can read parcels anywhere and stitch that together. And that goes from 6-sided scanning, a huge infrastructure, to 2 sensors that sit either side of a conveyor with a gap that can stitch those together. And I think that's really interesting.
So who do you normally go with when you go with the vision systems? Is that Keyence or is it?
God, now I'm going to mess myself up here. I go with we really like Keyence. I like Keyence. I think they're great. I think their customer service is fantastic. I think they've got a good team of young engineers who are enthusiastic. I think most importantly the price point is right. But the most important thing for me is I really like the UI. I think the user interface on them is incredibly simple to use. You can train engineers to use it. It's very plug and play. And I think for me personally, we tend to recommend Keyence. I'm not against using SICK and the others. There are many others out there. Yeah, I've got zero problem with that. Again, a lot of the time will be designed by customer spec. But if you ask me what I would recommend, for me personally, I've seen the easiest results for us from Keyence. But that's not to say that I don't enjoy using SICK and all the others as well. So yeah, they are Keyence. You got a free plug there as well, boys.
So there's so many out there as well, isn't it? There's so many out there, and what I find as well is, I mean, certain products, like especially with Keyence light guards now as well, as they're going down to now the same route as SICK, where you can use standard wires rather than have to buy all their special wires.
Oh, that used to break you, right? That used to break you. You've got to use this special molded plug that's only one, and it costs 500 quid a cable. I know. I've been using the SZVs quite a bit recently on the robot cells, so that you can use them for the different zonings, and you can teach them. And they've got they've got a great feature on it, which essentially is a badge that gives out an RFID that you can actually blank yourself up as you go in there. So if you're wearing that badge, you can draw the shape of a tool changer or anything else, and you can slide it into the area, and it won't stop the industrial application. Wow. I think that's great. That's really cool.
Everything coming out is just so much like tech now, isn't it? So smart.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you? Let's start again. So obviously you've got quite a kind of a southernish kind of accent. Whereabouts are you based?
We're based down on the south coast, a place called Chichester. We're about 15 minutes from the beach. As I said to you before, I'm a fairly big kite surfer and waterman. So when I decided whereabouts I was going to buy an office, I was definitely going to buy it somewhere close to whereabouts I live. So we're based down on the south coast, but yes, it's nice. We are looking to expand in the next. I was looking to buy another building, and then I realised I could service what I needed to out of here. Luckily, here in West Sussex, the council like a cartel to buy industrial units around here. I don't know how, but we're actively searching at the moment. And I think next year we'll probably see an expansion. For being honest, I'm probably going to have to expand into the Midlands at some point, just because it's whereabouts the majority of warehousing and logistics centres are. But I think I call this my skunk works down here. We've got a few trusted suppliers that we use at various places throughout the UK. Should we need to factory acceptance tests close to a customer site? Should we need to use some extra manufacturing firepower and things like this? But I call this my skunk works down here. This is whereabouts we sit down and work out all the good stuff.
Obviously, you say you got a 20,000 square foot factory, and then you've got 45 employees. Do you have many apprentices?
Yeah, so I'm big on apprentices. I'm apprenticeship trained, so is my business partner. Most of our top tier management are all apprenticeship trained engineers first, and then we've gone into management from there. I really, really, really enjoy having apprentices. I've got a young apprentice called Ben, and he's probably one of the smartest men I've ever met, full stop. He's such a brilliant apprentice, a really, really, really gifted electrical engineer. I would say that he's in his second year, and I would challenge him. He could take on 90% of the people I've worked with over the years in electrical engineering. That's the simple fact of the matter. The problem is now, it's a real sad point in the world whereabouts the apprentices have become much more costly. And I'm having to review that at the moment. I love the idea of bringing apprentices through, but there was always the agreement that you didn't come out with university fees, and within that, I paid you, you learned, we both had a fair, an equal relationship. The problem is now, let's be honest, apprentices are costing the best part of 35 grand a year, somewhere around about that, and that's the cost of living and everything else around there. And I know I get 15 calls a day from colleges and universities and things like this saying, people have lost their places and things like this. So for me, if I'm going to take an apprentice on, I need to take them on for the full duration. And I'm not willing to kind of play with people's lives like that or careers. Yeah, I love the apprenticeship schemes. I think it's a grand, fantastic thing. But at the moment, in the current political climate, and I'm trying to be as as central as possible on this. I think I don't know. I'm worried that there'll be another skills shortage if we don't get this kind of nailed in the next year or so. If I'm honest.
That's the thing. There's such a kind of gap, isn't there, in ages? And obviously, you're younger anyway. You're saying you're 40, and some of the other people coming through. There's a big gap between the 30s and the 50s and the 60s, isn't there? There's a huge gap in knowledge that's going to be lost, I think. So without starting to get people in there now, I know the government have recently just said about putting extra apprentices in engineering, but it's still too costly, I think, for businesses to take them on.
Listen, if you're going to tax the businesses more, make it more expensive to do business, put tariffs on everything, raise the price of everything, raise the price of national insurance and raise the price of doing business, and then say, why aren't there more apprentices? You're asking the wrong question. Do you know what I mean? The question should be, you can't raise the price of everything and then say, why aren't you training people? At the end of the day, there has to be operational efficiencies within business. That's the simple fact of the matter. And that's across all industries and all sectors. And if we're not careful, we are going to end up with a generation. I was very lucky. I was one of the last generations to do what I'd like to call a proper apprenticeship. Proper, kind of 4-year, on the tools every day, proper apprenticeship. And I think that, you look at, as you said, these guys who are now retiring in their 50s, their 60s, even their late 40s, they have such a skill set and such a knowledge group that we need to extract that from these people like a sponge. But the problem is as well that the technology's moved on so fast now that maybe some of those skills aren't interchangeable. Then it's trying to find a happy medium whereabouts you've got somebody who can work on a 20-year-old Bosch Rexroth drive that doesn't exist anymore, to be able to kind of work in the latest version of ePlan easily and understand how the software or Solid works, or your digital twins and things like this. And it's being able to find that balance, I think.
100%. I say that's what it is, really, isn't it? Well, I see you're doing your best anyway. So
I'm trying.
Is there anything you want to add to the podcast, Danny?
Not at all. I mean, from my side, look, if you want a UK-based manufacturer who's going to work with you, who's going to offer a 24-month warranty as standard, who will build the machine to your specifications, who will build it in your colour, I'll even flavour it if you like, do you know what I mean? But however you like, and you're an integrator or an end user who's looking for something a little bit different and a collaborative environment, please reach out. And again, I'd just like to commend yourself and all the people there at Manufacturers Hub and that great community. And, long may UK engineering, continue to have the clout that it used to.
Great, thank you very much. No, that's nice little addition there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the podcast anyway. I'm sure I'll get this edited soon and we can post it. But great to have you on.
No worries. We'll catch up for a pint soon. Take care, mate. Be good.
If you want more customers, you've got two choices. You either pay for Google Ads or you hope that you're within the top 10 on Google search.
There's over 100,000 manufacturing businesses in the UK, but how do they get found? I had that problem working for an engineering company in Essex with no marketing budget. How could new customers find us?
My name's Kevin and I'm the co-owner of Manufacturers Hub, and we've come up with a solution to get your business found online. Join us today to boost your online presence. Click the sign up link.